I've got a couple. That 188-hour average that you cited, how many years are included in that data?
6.
Okay, so that spans before some of these changes were made as well.
Yes.
Did you see any change over that period of time?
We see an increase of about $400,000 in overtime used over the last 2 years.
I understand that there's a financial aspect to that because of the way the force back works. But I guess what I'm asking is, did you see an increase in claimed sick leave that corresponded with the increase in pay that had to do with the force backs? Because you could hypothetically have an increase in the budget that corresponds to $200,000 a year without actually seeing a corresponding increase in sick leave time.
Okay, I'm not sure if we have crunched the numbers that way. Mr. Bailey, do you have any?
We do have them by year. I don't have them with me. So it's something that we can certainly look at and get back to you. In the City Beat article that he was referring to, we did discuss the range. I don't know that the detail was provided in there, but the range, it has been relatively consistent. So there isn't 1 year that is skewing the average. Now, I can't tell you whether it's consistently increasing. It seems like it was, again, I think the range was fairly consistent through that period of time.
Mr. Kirkpatrick, I will say, as not the number crunching, but the negotiator. We were open at all times since the beginning of this negotiation process to work creatively with the union on how to deal with this overtime problem. The union's lead negotiator told me it's not a problem, his words, and have refused to engage with us, have refused to negotiate on this issue. So this is where we are, even though the city specifically asked the union to work with us on this overtime issue, they declined.
Well, and again, I would just like to know, I'd like to see if there's an increase, that is, maybe in lawyer terms, that speaks to motive. I would just be curious to see if there's been a change there, whether or not the amount is a problem, is a part of the negotiation process, part of the voting process, and ultimately a part for our voters. So I'm just curious about the data. And then the 81% of sick leave, it looked like in the notes there that was over about 3 months of data. Do we have a broader range, or could we get a broader range to see if the short and long time, the way the short and long pay periods work? I at least would find it helpful to see a longer range of data there to see if that's a pattern.
Yeah, that was, the fire chief put that together based on the data from, I think it was just from the first part of this year, if I believe. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was 3 months. So we can go back farther than that. In fact, I had asked him to. I suspect that he was feeding it to us as he developed it. Initially, it was a single month, and it was 3 months. And I will tell you that the single month and 3 months didn't differ at all. So the initial run of just a single month's data, he said, we'll look this, and then a day later or so, we got 3 months worth, and they were very consistent. So, but yeah, we can certainly go back for it.
I think more data is better than,
Absolutely.
Yep. More is better than less. And you said at the beginning that there's still an opportunity, even with the government being shut down, to potentially have another mediator. What kind of groups are open to that? Has that been done before?
Yes, it can be done at any time. Right now, the process allows for choice of or assignment of a mediator from the Federal Mediation and Conciliation Service. However, the parties could agree to a neutral mediator, and there are literally dozens of professional mediators and arbitrators in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and here, even here locally, that I'm sure would be happy to serve as an agreed upon mediator. The union has declined to even respond to our suggestion.
And outside of that, there is still the possibility and the hope that this is an amicable negotiation. Obviously, as Jess has said, this is an adversarial process. Once we reach this point in particular, the council is required to act, and once you're required to act, then we're required to have these discussions. That doesn't preclude us from continuing negotiations. Unfortunately, we've not been able to do that. And so the hope is that we will through negotiations. Ideally, that is how everybody is going to be best represented, is if we're able to come to a mutual understanding.
We have heard more about the union's position in the past month over Facebook than we've heard over the past year in the negotiation sessions. this is typical of what we see, a one-page demand without explanation or data to back it up, just saying this is what you want to give us. And there has been no discussion, there has been no good faith negotiation by the union. The city's put 3 offers out there, done all the legwork to get all the data, and that has not been reciprocated by the union.
Well, you know as well as I do that in negotiation, when negotiation comes to a screeching halt and going to the press is one of the next steps. And it is each side trying to craft a story. So I have gotten lots of emails about this. I'm sure my fellow council members have as well. And I continue to say that it is my hope that our firefighters are compensated fairly and that the taxpayer is also taken care of and paying a fair amount. What exactly that looks like is why we have these processes. So for what it's worth, as the one guy up here who doesn't actually get to vote on any of this at any point, I would love it if negotiations can continue happening while the federal government is shut down. But I don't think it does anybody, the city or the fire department, a service to have this blasted out in the press in the interim. I understand why it's happening. I understand it's a negotiation tactic for all of us. But this kind of division, I know it has a lot of the people that I get to speak to in the community really disturbed and not so much even taking sides, just even trying to figure out who to believe. And so, for what it's worth, I would love it if those can continue, but I understand both parties have to be open to it.
Believe me, we would have preferred to handle this in negotiations. The city remains open to negotiations, not only because it is legally required of us, but because it's the right thing to do. However, when we send out an offer on September 26th and receive crickets in response, I submit to the council that it's not the city that's holding up this process.
It is fascinating, the whole dynamic between the union and the city, as the new guy. Is it possible for us to attend as observers as the negotiation and arbitration continues without being there in an official voting capacity?
Certainly never been done in my time doing this. I don't.
Just from
have
an
an answer.
educational
Yes,
perspective.
I don't have a yes or no. I can look into it.